if I could, with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin a new school year and as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in a meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we discuss issues which affect our school, our staff, faculty, alumni, and all the friends of CBT. And continue to remind us that all that we do at our school, all of it, all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of the truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, I'm moving already. I'm sorry. I'm moving. So let me tell you a little bit about why we're here. Two things are converging right now. You may not notice it. There is a State of the School Principal's Address. That's a nice thing to give at the beginning of the year. It's just sort of an overview of how we're doing. What are some new things that are happening in the school this year? A chance to take some questions. So that was scheduled. That was on the calendar. And then I had this other group over here called the PTF. Anyone not on the PTF that knows what PTF stands for? What does it stand for?
Parent-Teacher Fellowship.
Parent-Teacher Fellowship. You've heard of the PTA. That's the public school. Most Catholic schools have a PTG, Parent-Teacher Guild. We invented the PTF. We really did. We're the only one that has one. And the reason that it was invented is to increase representation of parents. Because when I first got here, there was a PTG. And it was very traditional. There was a secretary, and there was a president, and vice president. There were like 4 people. And they had to be elected, and every time there was an election, we had to find people to run for offices. And I kind of found that limiting. So what we decided is it would be cool if every homeroom was represented, from preschool all the way to the top. Everybody got a person on the board. And that's what we did. So that's what the PTF is. And the PTF is a group of parents, just like you, who have taken on the role of homeroom ambassador. And that means they're going to get to do fun things like organize parties. We have a Halloween party coming up. But it also means they are your voice. Now you can always call me. You can always reach out to a teacher. But you can also work through other parents if you have a question. Why is Frye doing that crazy thing? I don't know. I don't feel comfortable calling him. I'm going to tell you, and then you can tell him. Because I meet with this group of parents every month. And we've done this for a number of years, but you know what we never did? We never did this. We kind of all sat in a room and we had good meetings, but they weren't public meetings. And so this year, the decision was made, let's have a few public meetings. Let's see if we can bring people out and give them a chance to ask questions, see how they're doing. And so we said, great, let's have that meeting. So now we have a public meeting, PTF, and we have the State of the School Address. And then we sat in a room and we said, you know what? Is there any way we can combine those two things so the parents don't have to come out twice? And so as we did, we decided to have a new parent reception. We decided to let me talk a little bit, and then we decided to also let the PTF meeting take place. So mainly it's going to be me tonight, because the PTF board is very new, and I asked them how much they wanted to speak, and they all glared at me. But this is not my meeting. I just want to be clear. In the future, it's not every time you see there's a PTF meeting, I go, God, I'm staying home, Frye's talking again. No. There will be other things going on. There will be other meetings and other topics, and hopefully you'll get to help pick those topics. We want to do things that are relevant to you, questions that you might have. And I wanted to introduce the PTF board. I think it's important because, again, you might not know who they are, but it's good to see a face. Those could be with us tonight. And I'm just going to call their names, ask them to stand up. In preschool, your representative is Colleen Evans. Thank you, Mrs. Evans. In kindergarten, it's Don Bergevile, who's hiding off to the side. Kim Goodsell in first grade. So if you're a first grade parent, there's your rep. Kate Piper, second grade. Andrea Gross in third grade. Teresa Scalota, fourth grade. Jody Lucas, fifth grade. Elise Bogner, camera woman, sixth grade. And Cindy Dalton in seventh grade. Some of them are new parents. Some of them have been with us for years, so you get a nice perspective. But you know, it was really the PTF board last year that set the tone for this year, the first thing I want to talk about. So tonight, I'm going to kind of give an overview of what some of our goals are for the year, talk about some of the things that are new this year, and then I'm going to give a perspective maybe on some things that we can do to help our children be successful. But the first thing I want to talk about comes from what parents told us last year. We survey parents. We ask them how things are going. We'll probably do it to you too. And you get to tell us, and we actually read it. And one of the things that we heard last year is that parents wanted more opportunities to come together. Opportunities to do things with their children, to come out, be with other parents, get opportunities to sit and talk. And so this year, we wanted to try to create those opportunities for you, but also for your children. So we've already done a number of new things. This is new. With our Logic School, our 6th and 7th graders, we sent them on a camping trip to start the year because we wanted them to get connected with each other. And we see them as the leaders of the school. So our 6th and 7th graders during the first week got to go camping. And I'm proud to say 85% of them came back. That's an impressive statistic, I know. We said anything over 80 is great. And we got 85. We started, a number of teachers this summer went to Catholic University in Washington, D.C. to the National Conference on Classical Education, and they got to interact with people doing classical ed from across the country, and they came back with a really exciting idea, which was, how do you make a small school feel bigger? And was born out of our house activities. So if you don't know, we've organized the students in the school, all the students, into houses where they get to interact with students in different classes. So a kindergarten student gets to interact, they might be in a room with a 7th grader. And some of our older students are the leaders here, and the teachers are moderators, and they're in the room. And then throughout the year, they're going to have opportunities because we want them to know each other. And we want them, again, what's the word? Connection. We want them to feel connected to each other, and we want them to feel connected to the school. We've always done skating parties. Mrs. Slough. Where is Mrs. Slough? Where did she go? Oh, hi, Mrs. Slough. Mrs. Slough went to school here. She went to school here, she became a teacher, and now she teaches here. That's a rare story. You don't get to hear that story very often. She is teaching with people who were teachers when she was here.
My teachers.
And her teachers. That's a pretty cool story. But Mrs. Slough will tell you that were skating parties alive when you were here? Yeah. So skating parties have been around since Mrs. Slough was here, probably before that.
Second Tuesday of the month.
Second Tuesdays a month, they still are. And we added to that, Mrs. Slough helped add to that. She created, with the help of our friends at Adams Memorial Library, there are going to be monthly activities, some for younger students. We already had one. We kicked one off, and it was geared towards very young children. They got to make little, I don't know what you call them, puppets, characters. They heard stories about Cinderella, and then they got to make little characters. But we're doing one next week for the older kids that's coming out in the newsletter tomorrow. So if you're 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th, you might want to check it out. If they say, Mom, Dad, what is it?
Next month.
Next month? Did I say next week? I'm sorry. But if your children don't know what a library is, let them Google it. There used to be a place with books. And you went, no. But it's so again, activities, opportunities to come out. One of my favorite activities is going to be next month, I think it's October the 20th, the spaghetti dinner. I get to cook food with the dads of CDT. I'm looking right at you two. Remember that date, October 20th. I want you to come out. We're going to put aprons. We're going in that kitchen, and we're cooking a spaghetti dinner. It's one of my favorite things. And it's absolutely free. It's not a fundraiser. We just want you to come out and eat. And so my motto each and every year is you're going to eat somewhere. Why not here? Why not come on out? We're going to have this place decorated. There'll be Italian music playing. It'll be a wonderful meal. So if you see that, it's going to be in the newsletter tomorrow. Circle that date. It's a Saturday. You'll have time. It's 3 hours long. Somewhere in those 3 hours you'll find time. Come on out. Have a free meal on us. So those are just some examples of activities. But I want you to remember something as I talk about connectedness. Please remember, this is your school. We work here, but this is your school. We want your feedback. We want your suggestions. We want opportunities to allow you to participate. And we do listen, and when we can, we try to accommodate. So please, if you take nothing away from this meeting, take that away. We want you to be involved. Which is why, when you came in today, you should have gotten one of these. Could you take it out if you haven't? And if you don't have it, make sure you get one on the way out. This is brand new. We have a committee of wonderful women. They're an enrollment committee. And we always talk about ways to build enrollment. And one of the things we talked about at those meetings was, how do we get new families to feel like they know what's going on? We felt like we didn't do a good job with that last year. We felt like there were some new families in November, and they were sort of like, what's that event? How does that work? And then we realized the mistakes that we were making, we were just sort of assuming. Because some of these events, like skating parties, have been around so long, we just figured everybody knows what a skating party is. We don't really have to explain that, do we? Yeah, we kind of do. If you're brand new, you don't know where that is. So what's with this book? That was the genesis of this book. And if you look through it, it lists activities that take place at different times of the year. And with each, there's a description. So you kind of have an idea about what's going on. But that's not the best part. The best part is on the back. Yeah. Because that's where you get to be involved. We want you to look through these activities and pray on it a little bit, and we hope you're going to check those boxes. Because we want you to be involved in the school. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of these activities are big, and we really couldn't even do them without help. So the idea is you're going to check a box, and you're going to tear this piece off and send it back to school. And then we're going to put your name on the list. This is not a legal contract. If you check the box, you can back out later. However, we hope you won't, and somebody will contact you. You'll say, Ms. Thompson, we noticed that you're interested in Muffin Day. You've got a baker in your heart. You want to make some muffins. By the way, that's a day we say thank you to all the people that support the school, and we literally bake muffins and deliver them in cars all around the area. We get our student council kids to help us. And so it's a great day, and that's coming up. And so there you go, Muffin Day. We need people to make muffins. If that's you got some time, you want to come on in, I'm sure they'd love to have you. Lots of things. If you're new, this is all going to be unfamiliar, so please read through it. We want 100% of our parents, hopefully, that will check at least one box. That's our goal. And I'm very grateful to the Enrollment Committee who went over this, our teachers who kept looking through it and making edits, and Anna Matucci who put this all together, and I think this was the 7th draft. So people kept finding new things, so thank you to her and all her hard work. All right, this is a part that promise not to roll your eyes. Are you ready, Mrs. Scalota? No eye rolling? Okay, ready? We want you to volunteer. You got that part, right? You believe me when I say that. We want you to volunteer. But we have to ask something of you. And that is, we have to ask that you get your clearances before you volunteer. And yes, it's a hassle. And yes, it's another thing that we do ask you to do, but we also want our children to be safe. And the safest environment for our children to be in is if all of our parents have those clearances. And so we only are going to allow parents that have those clearances to be interacting with the kids. All right, makes sense? Here's what you do. First of all, you will be amazed how many people think they have their clearances. And they don't. And the reason they don't is because the Diocese of Greensburg has some special things that you have to do. Beyond just a fingerprinting or a PA criminal check or a child abuse check, there are some specific things that they will ask you to read. There are 2 things you have to do online, 2 trainings that you do online, and then you get a certificate at the end. It does take a little bit of time. Some of it's really quick. Some of it you can do it right online, you're finished. But it takes enough time that you wouldn't want to start the night before. If tomorrow's the big field trip and you really want to go on there, you don't want to sit down the night before and try to work your way through these clearances. What you want to do is start now. And here's where you go. This is the good part. If you go to our school website, What am I kidding? Of course you go to our school website. You go there every night, I'm sure. But when you go to our school website, all you have to do from the homepage, scroll to the bottom, there's going to be a link that says clearances. Just click on it. And when you do, it's going to take you to a diocesan site where they will categorize clearances depending on what your role is going to be. One of them is going to say volunteer, 18 and up. Click on that. And the good thing about it is it's not only going to list all the clearances, but it's going to provide links. So when you click on PA criminal check, it'll take you right to that page so that you can get it. But please, we want you to be involved. Take those minutes, go check it out, start getting those clearances. We're very thankful when you do. Mrs. Winkowski, is she in here?
I'm here.
Well, that was cool. You just emerged. We timed that. We practiced that for hours. I said, I'll turn and say, Mrs. Winkowski, and then you step out from behind the wall. Mrs. Winkowski is the person here that captures and keeps records of all those clearances. So if you have a question about, did you get is my fingerprint expired, everything's good for 5 years, that's the lady that you want to talk to, Mrs. Gretchen Winkowski. And actually, I'm going to reference you. Are you sneaking away? Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Okay, let's talk about the school a little bit. School's been here a long time. Those of you that I took on a tour, you know how long. When did the school open? Who remembers the date? 1865. Lincoln was president. That's a great line.
It is.
It happens to be true, though. School opened in 1865. So we've been here a long time. School is still healthy. Enrollment is the same this year as it was last year. We lost a couple kids right as we were getting started. They transferred out for various reasons. We were going to be up, but we're still steady, and that's a good thing. And financially, we have been able to manage without significant tuition increases. We did increase it this year, but it hasn't increased dramatically over my tenure. So we want it to be affordable. We've still been able to offer a lot of tuition assistance. The vast majority of our families receive some level of tuition assistance. But I'll tell you something about our school that we have to point out, and that is that we do fundraise. And the reason we're able to keep tuition at a reasonable rate is because we're successful in fundraising. And that's really what it comes down to, not to put too fine a point on it, but money that we're able to raise that way, we don't have to get another way. We do not exist simply on what you pay in tuition. We have to add to that to make all the ends meet. And we do that with fundraising. We do that with 3 fundraisers. And at the new parent orientation, I walked through those, so I'm not going to do that again, except to say we're in the middle of one right now. It is the cash ticket. You've all received, or should have received, your packet of tickets. If you need help selling those tickets, we'll help you. We'll find a place, a nice mass. Our priests are really nice. They'll let you stand outside, sell them after mass as people are coming out, and you have them cornered. I suggest you take your child in their uniform as a way to get attention focused on you. But no, they really will. We have a wonderful board of priests who will come out and allow you to do that. So we'd like to set that up for you. We have until the end of the month to sell those. We invite you to sell more than just that one pack. Because whoever sells the most is going to win $500. And anyone who sells at least the one you got gets their name in a hat. 2 and 500, and then the more that you sell, the more that your name gets in the hat. We have the all-time sales leader here with our tonight. We have a celebrity in our midst tonight. Should I point him out? Mr. Dennis Kozar, right here in the back of the room.
Woo!
Yes.
Woo!
He will routinely, just think about this, I don't want to embarrass him, but he's got a gift. He really does, and it's hard work. I'm sure it's his bubbly personality as well, but it's also a lot of hard work. He shows up at Mass. He's there, right? You're there. And so if you're sitting there saying, oh, do I get this pack of tickets? How am I going to sell this pack of tickets? He'll routinely sell more than 10 packs of tickets. So it can be done. And that's the guy you want to talk to. So he's really good at it. And we hope that you'll support us that way. You have until the end of the month. At the beginning of November, we start giving away money. The biggest night, we give away $10,000. That's pretty good. So if you want to sell those tickets, say, no, this is a ticket that can get you $10,000. But that money, again, is supporting the school and allowing us to keep tuition down. You also may have heard, as avid readers of the newsletter, that we got a big gift. And for those of you that are going like this right now, we're going to use it to air condition the school. And it starts tomorrow. Yes. They're showing, this is the first room. You have no idea how much I wanted it to be done for tonight when I put this on. I wanted it to be 117 degrees today, and I wanted it to be in this room, and I wanted it to be done, and I was just going to like really casually pull out a remote control and just get one of these. Just, you know, it was going to be so awesome, and people were going to get excited, and but we just couldn't get it done. But it's going to start. So I promise tomorrow, they told me they're showing up, they're going to come Friday, Saturday, and we're going to do the cafeteria in the library, which is right above us, and that's going to be done this fall. And then we're going to take a break, we're going to do the rest of the spring. Because it's a little noisy, parts of it. We have to put holes in walls. And you can't really do that with kids while you're teaching. So we have to wait for the next break, where we have several days in a row where we can do it. It's not going to be Christmas, weather's an issue, but it'll probably be spring break. And so what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll set it up. They'll probably have their equipment in place, they'll hook it all together. So the hope is, by the time we get warm weather again in the spring, we'll be ready to roll. Isn't that exciting? And that was a gift from St. Rose Parish, one of our feeder parishes, just really generous out of the blue. So I did want to give them credit, and we're very thankful. And to tell you that it's going to start tomorrow. We also are building a greenhouse. And those of you that were here last year, it's like, haven't you been building a greenhouse for like a year now? And the truth is, yeah, we are. We got a grant. Miss Kim Marsh, our preschool teacher, wrote a grant, and she's a member, she leads our environmental club, and we have gardens already. But she wrote a grant for a greenhouse because we thought that would be really cool. We could keep it going all year round. And she got a $10,000 grant for a greenhouse. Mrs. Myers helped also, and she's here. There she is. And we thought, awesome. Well, I mean, tomorrow we'll have a greenhouse. It's hard to build a greenhouse. You don't think it is, because your neighbor probably has one, right? Well, let me tell you something. You put a greenhouse in your backyard, piece of cake. You put school children in a greenhouse, you're talking a whole different level of safety concerns. And the permit requirements go way up. And so we got into this weird thing where we knew it had to be stable up to 100 miles an hour, sustain the wind, and it had to have so much snow weight, load of snow, had to be able to sit on the roof without collapsing the structure. And we looked into all that and we said, great, let's go get the permit. And the good people at the bureaucracy of Latrobe said, yes, we'll give you a permit. All we need are the plans. We'll look at the plans, we'll okay the plans, you'll have your permit. We said, terrific. We went to the company we were going to buy it from. We said, could we have the plans? They said, sure, all you have to do is buy the greenhouse. That's an absolutely true story. It took us months of negotiations before we could get the plans, to get the plans approved so that we could then buy the greenhouse. So the greenhouse is being made to our specifications. The diocese has pitched in free labor to build it for us once it arrives. Isn't that cool? And now, I just live in fear every day that a tractor trailer is just going to roll up and dump a greenhouse in another parking lot some Saturday when I'm not here. They're going to drive away, and that's going to be, but no, it's happening. It's going to happen this fall. We had some lunch changes this year, which has probably been the most controversial change. And we decided to bring an outside vendor in. Up till then, we would always prepare the food on site. And we did it for a specific reason, which is we had some turnover in our cafeteria staff. And there's a lot of training that has to go into that when you are running the National Lunch Program. And these people don't grow on trees. And so when you have to replace them, it's a pivotal part of your daily work with kids. You have to have a functioning cafeteria. And so we began to think, well, what would happen if we just lost our cafeteria staff on a Tuesday in November? Like, what's the backup plan to that? And so we began to explore with some of the idea of what if we worked with an outside company, then that would alleviate some of those issues. And that's what we did. So we contracted with a company called the Nutrition Group. And two specific changes came about. Neither one were popular. One is the price went up, because as you might imagine, now we're incurring other expenses. And the other one is, since the way it works is we have to tell them how much food to send. So we had to ask you to place orders in advance, which parents didn't love, because parents love to push their kids out the door and say, yeah, you can buy lunch today, go ahead. But now they can't do that, because now they're ordering in advance, so you have to give it some thought. Does that sum it up pretty well? Okay. Oh, and some people didn't like the food. Although I haven't heard that. Is that true? Because I talk to the kids and they're lining up for seconds every day and nobody's come and told me things. But look, so do me a favor. If you have those concerns, I'm going to tell you the true story. And I just said 3 things. All of them true. You all nodded your heads. Most of you nodded your heads. Nobody has called me. I haven't received 1 call. Not 1 complaint. Absolutely true. So may I just humbly point out, if you have a concern, share it. Don't share it with your friend at the skating party. Call the school. Remember what I said at the beginning. We're listening. We care. The reality is, we set this deal up with a 3-month contract. Because we wanted to see what would happen. We said, let's do it for a quarter. Let's see what food's like. Let's see what people respond to. And then we're going to reassess. So if you have feedback to give us feedback. And then in a couple of months, we're going to sit down and we're going to decide how we want to move forward. We may go back to preparing our own meals again. We now have a new staff. They're capable. They're wonderful. They're more than capable. They're well trained. Have your kids told you how awesome lunch is? Did they tell you that these women come in and wear like big chef's hats and fake mustaches during Italian Day? Did they tell we're playing? Did they think you do that? That we're playing classical music every day and we're having contests to guess the composer and things like that? It's been a lot of fun. I have greatly enjoyed this year. So I don't always get to see the parent side of it, and I do appreciate the challenges you may be having. I can tell you in the short term, one of the things we're trying to work out, if your kid eats every day, we're going to figure out a way so you don't have to order anymore. If you know that you're going to have 5 days a week, we don't want to make it each week to have to go in and fill out the form again. If you're willing to just indicate to us in some way, we haven't figured out the form yet, you say, yeah, we'll just eat every day, then we'll know, we'll add you into the account and we'll be good. And we're going to see if we can do that to sort of alleviate some of the problems. The other big thing, online payments. Has that been more convenient? All right, have we reached the point in American history where we're not freaked out by online payments? Because we could have done this 5 years ago. And we didn't because we just weren't there yet. There were people like, I want to write a check, that's where I am, I don't want to do this. And I just sort of felt like finally, people like the convenience of just being able to go and press a button, there it goes, and you can make payments. So that's what we've been trying to do. We're the only school in the diocese doing it this year, 100%. Our goal is that everyone's just paying everything online. So if you want to put your lunch balance online, do it. Your kid's going on a field trip and you want to put money on the field trip, you can do that as well. And we can bill you if you forget. We can just send you a reminder through email as well. Now, do you remember that woman that snuck out? Gretchen? She handles this too. So when you call about your clearances, she is my business manager and she can help you get set up into the tax account. Okay? All right, I'd like to just shift for a minute and talk about a couple of things. And when I thought about what I wanted to talk about, I actually drew a line. I don't know if you can see that, but I drew a line because it was such a radical shift. I was going to move away from the school and talk about something else. And my son is 20 years old, and he happened to be home from college, and I showed him this. And I said, what do you think of that? And he read through it, and I said, how would you characterize that part of the speech? And he characterized it as, that's the cranky old man part of the speech. My son said that. I mean, I'll take cranky, but old, I thought that was a little hurtful. But when I looked at it again, I decided, I hope this doesn't come off as preachy, but these are real things that we deal with that I just wanted to bring your attention. So the part of this last little bit, I titled, The Value of Struggle and the Importance of Virtue. The value of struggle and the importance of virtue. And I want you to think of it in the context of your kids. How many of you know the Hokey Pokey? Would anyone be willing to stand up and sing the entire song? I didn't think so. What's he talking about? He's lost it. He's talking about the Hokey Pokey now. All right, how does it start? What do you put in? All right, this is like parenting. I'm going somewhere with this. All right, parenting is all about that. Stepping in, getting help, stepping back. Some level of independence. The end game is full independence. The end game is by the time they leave you, they're capable of functioning in society all by themselves. And at the beginning, they are nowhere near that point. And so you step in, and then you step back out again. And the real trick is how much do you step in, And how much do you step out? Does anyone know the phrase helicopter parent? Big hand in the back of the room. Why is it all from teachers? Okay. There are helicopter teachers too. There are. I think I was one of them. What's a helicopter parent? What's the definition? It's a pejorative, but what does it mean? What is it supposed to mean? A parent that does what? Hovers, maybe steps in, stays there, doesn't step back out again, right? Now, that's also a loving parent. That's a caring parent. But I just want to submit to you that if you step in too much, you're taking away something from your child. You're taking away the growth that comes with the struggle. We cannot, human beings, cannot grow effectively by only choosing what we're already good at. The only way we can learn and grow is at some point we have to take on things that we're not good at. And we have to work through them. The more you struggle while trying to grasp new concepts, the more you're going to understand in the end. And the more you're going to be able to recall later. Instead of discarding what you need to know, we need to allow children to play around with their missteps. They have to know that it's okay to make mistakes and that growth comes out of mistakes. It's the process and the practice that is just as valuable as the product. So as you're watching your child do work, we don't want them to get frustrated to the point that they shut down. But we also don't want to step in so quickly that we do it for them. And we deny them that opportunity of growth. Do you know who Elon Musk is? Yes? Who's Elon Musk?
SpaceX.
He is the CEO of Tesla. What else does he do?
SpaceX.
SpaceX. He's a busy guy. Builds rockets, wants to go to Mars. He's also building tunnels underneath Los Angeles. He wants to alleviate traffic by doing an underground system for cars. Anyone know where he made his money? How he became a billionaire? Wasn't any of those things. PayPal. And he started PayPal. So he's a super genius. And I was reading an article this week, just this week, and they were talking to Elon Musk, and they said, what do you ask people when you interview them? What do you want to know? This is what he said. He asks them, his big question is, what are the most difficult problems that you have faced? And how did you solve them? Because he wants to know who's just pretending and sort of padding a resume saying, I was part of the team that did this, versus who really was the team. How much did you understand what was going on? And you only get there if you're involved. You only get there if your sleeves are rolled up. You only get there if you do the work, not by getting around the work. They did an experiment. There was a woman named Carol Dweck, who is an educational researcher. I think out of Columbia. And Carol Dweck wrote a wonderful book. It's one that they give out to teachers all the time, but it's worth reading if you're a parent. I wish I had read as a parent. It's called The Growth Mindset. The Growth Mindset. And basically what it says, and this is my paraphrasing, is that if you believe that you can do things, you probably will. And if you, from the get-go, believe that you can't do something, you'll probably talk yourself out of doing it. But there's no limit on your brain. I'll give you an example. You don't have to put your hand up. But how many of you think you're not a math person? How many of you have said to others you're not a math person? Now, I would submit you're saying that because you've had a bad math experience. Maybe you didn't have a teacher that helped you. But your brain is just as capable of anyone else's brain to do math. And with enough time and with enough practice, you could be taught to do math, even really hard math. See, that's the growth mindset. I might not know it now, but I can do it. Kids who lack that shut down right away. Even bright kids. So they did an experiment, and they brought kids into a room. And in that room were puzzles. And they said, put the puzzles together. And the first puzzles were easy. And there were easier. And there were some kids who struggled even with the easier ones, but eventually made it through. And there were some kids, they just whipped right through the puzzle. And they said, well, you must be smart. Look at what you did. You must be smart. And then a funny thing happened. They increased the difficulty level of the puzzles. And the kids who struggled initially began to outperform the top group because they didn't fear the struggle. They accepted they were going to have to think through the problems. Whereas the really bright kids who didn't meet with immediate success crumbled. And even more than you might think. Because think about it, why were they able to do those first puzzles? Because they were so smart. So what happens when they can't do the puzzle? What do they think about themselves? I must be dumb. I can't do it. But if they believe that the reason you can solve puzzles is through hard work, and that eventually you can come to the answer, that's a very different way of looking at it. So Carol Dweck, this is just a little quote from the book. She wrote, "We found that students' mindsets, how they perceive their abilities, played a key role in their motivation and in their achievement. And we found that if we could change the students' mindsets, we could also boost their achievement. More precisely, students who believed that their intelligence could get better, that it wasn't fixed, that they could learn, a growth mindset. Those students outperformed those who believed that their intelligence was a fixed thing, was a gift. I was born this way. I'm just a smart kid." And when students learned through a structured program that they could in fact grow their brains and increase their intellectual abilities, they did better. Finally, we found that having children focus on the process that leads to learning, like working hard, trying new strategies when you get stuck, that teaching that could foster the growth mindset and all of its benefits. So how can you help your child? How can we help your child think that way? Because right now, I can see it in your faces. You're thinking about your children. Does my child have a growth mindset? How do they approach things? Do they quit easily when they get stuck? Or do they like the challenge? Do they like to get in there and keep working through things? I would just submit a couple of things that might be helpful. Try to avoid telling your child that they can do things because they're smart. Even if they are. Compliment them on their hard work. Compliment them on their creative thinking. Compliment them on their problem solving. But sometimes in trying to be kind and saying, boy, you must be really smart, think about how you're putting a box around that child at that point. And what will happen if that child reaches something they can't do? Because we all hit the wall. Some kids hit the wall in elementary school, some kids fly by, they never have to work that hard, they do really well, maybe they get to college. And now they don't have any skills. They've never had to struggle, they've never had to develop the skills that are necessary to get them past that point, over the wall. So we can help them with that by complimenting the process just as much as the product. It's great if they bring home an A, but it's even better if they can explain to you how they got the A. And the other thing that I'm going to share with you that you might want to use with your child is a magic word. One word. And the word is yet. I can't do that, Mom. No, you can't do it yet. But you will. You will get there. It's just can be that little change in how we structure our thoughts that can change the way we approach the world. I know growing up that I absolutely was convinced there were things that I was good at, and there were things that I wasn't going to be good at. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I got curious about other things that I might have previously thought I wasn't good at, and started to try them. Well, you can do that with kids too. Some of you already have, because they're coming to us that way. They love the challenge. And part of classical education is just what I'm talking about. It's the process. We want them to be good thinkers and good speakers and problem solvers and want them to be wise. It's not about just bringing home a good grade.